Hello again, everyone. Well, this time, if you've seen some of my videos in the past, you may think it's a bit of a repeat. I'm going to be loading Windows 10 on top of an existing Windows 7 PC. But the PC in this case will be a laptop, so it'll be a little bit different in terms of having to follow certain steps. I will also follow this up with some minor configurations that I always do on a fresh Windows install of any version. If you get anything out of this video, or if you like it in general, again, please do me a favor and subscribe to my channel. That would be very helpful. Thank you. The first thing I want to do is create an actual USB bootable stick in order to install Windows 10. And I want the latest build of Windows 10 when I do that. So if I type into Google, create Windows 10 installation media, then one of the options I will see is download Windows 10 disk image ISO file from Microsoft and verify that it is coming from Microsoft.com. Now make sure before you start you have a USB memory stick that's at least 8 gigabytes in size, ready to be overwritten by the Windows 10 image. So next thing I will do is download the tool. It uses a tool to actually create the USB stick. If you look down at the bottom of the screen, you will see a question. What do you want to do with Media Center Tool 1903.exe? Now 1903 is the actual build ID for Windows 10 that they will be downloading onto your memory stick. If you've already got this version, then you have the latest. If not, then you want to go ahead and overwrite the one you have, or more preferably, take another stick and overwrite that one, because it will completely erase the memory stick. So we need to run this tool. We're actually running the installation of it. We do have to confirm that we want to use the administrative account for doing so. So I'll say yes. It is now checking out the PC to make sure that you are capable of installing Windows 10. Now I am running this on a separate PC, which happens to already have Windows 10 installed and therefore is capable of running Windows 10. Now it's going to ask for me to accept a license agreement. I can read through this, but ultimately I need to accept it in order to continue on. Now I want to actually create an installation media, so I need to click on this second choice. But before I hit next, I need to install my USB memory stick into an open USB port. As you see in the lower right hand corner, it has become my drive J. So now I click next. It's asking the language and so forth. It defaults to US language and Windows 10 and 64-bit, which is what this particular computer is that I'm creating the memory stick on. When I click next, I see another menu choice, and I want to do it to the USB flash drive. I could also create an ISO file, which I could later move to a DVD if I chose to do it that way. But I will leave it as USB flash drive and click next. As you can see, drive J is listed under removable drives right now with no label on it. That was a brand new formatted memory stick that I had installed. So I will click on that and then I will hit next. Now it's going to first download Windows 10 to my PC, and then it will create the actual image on the USB memory stick. This will take anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes to complete, and that depends on the speed of your PC, the speed of the USB memory stick in terms of data transfer rate, and which port and the speed of that port that you plugged the actual memory stick into. So let's just wait till this completes. It has now completed the download and is doing a verification of that download, and now it has begun creating the Windows 10 media. If you were to look at your USB drive, if it had an LED progress light, you would see that light would actually have lit up at this point. So we'll wait till this completes. And it says our USB is all ready. So all we have to do now is hit the finish button and we're done. So what I would make sure that you do at this point is safely remove the USB drive, the little button on the bottom to safely remove it, where you say eject the USB disk. And now it says that it's safe to remove the hardware. And I can now pull it out. And we're ready to move on to the next step of upgrading this laptop to Windows 10. Before you overwrite Windows 7, I suggest you locate your Windows 7 activation key. It could be in a card that came with your laptop or shown on a label that may be attached to the back of the laptop in the following form: 5 groups of 5 alphanumeric digits. Now, if you can't find that key prior to loading Windows 10, I suggest going and installing the freeware tool called Belarc Advisor. I have it up on the screen right now. I'm not going to download it or run it for you, but you can download this utility and it will give you all of the keys for different products that are installed on your PC. In this case, the Windows 7 before you installed Windows 10. This is highly advised to do on a normal course anyway, but this way, just in case Windows database does not recognize your motherboard and does not activate Windows, if you have this key ahead of time, then you can actually use it to activate Windows at a later time. Okay, before we get fully started here, I have to make sure that the laptop is properly prepared. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I have power connected. Here's the power connector. It's already plugged in. I'm going to connect it into the laptop here. I'm going to put a mouse on because the little pads on these laptops are not my favorite for doing real work. So I'll put a mouse on. Then I need a connector for the HDMI so I can record this session. Let me plug that in there. And although it's debatable, I like to have a network connector. That way, when it gets to that point in the installation of Windows 10, it'll be able to install it without any issues. So let me connect a hardwired network connection. Wireless may not work because it may need drivers. And from what I understand on this one, it actually does need drivers to get the wireless to work. So I'm not going to show you that in this video per se, unless we have a lot of time at the end. And then finally, I need the USB stick that we created with the latest build of Windows 10. I'm going to install that in another USB port on the laptop. And then with that, I can open it up and we're ready to go. So the first thing I have to do in powering this on is I'm going to have to hit the escape key according to the manual in order to get into the boot menu. Hit escape. So I'll hit F9 for booting the device option. And it gives me all the possible things it can boot from. There's the main hard drive that it was booted from before, but now I've added this one, the USB hard drive. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one and boot up. Now I'm into the main installation screen of Windows 10. So the options for language are as I would like. English United States. Time and currency is also English United States. Keyboard is US. So what I'll do here is just hit next. I'll say install now. I could also repair it, but I want to install. It's now asking for a key. Now, I'm going to go on the fact that this thing already had Windows 7 on it, so I'm not going to need a key. It should automatically activate after it's fully installed and connected to the network. So I'm going to say I don't have a product key. I know this laptop had Windows 7 Home, so I'm going to pick Windows 10 Home so the key will work properly. It's already selected, I just have to hit Next. Give me a license agreement. I can go ahead and read through all of this, and then I can accept. You have to accept it, you can't move on and install. I do a custom install. I don't want to do an upgrade. I want to completely wipe everything out. So right now these are the Windows 7 partitions that are already installed. It has a drive 0 that's on this laptop. So let me go ahead and delete all these partitions. I'll start with partition 3. I'll click on it and I'll say delete. It'll make sure that I want to do that. I say OK. Deleting that partition, it's now created 465.5 gigabytes. So it's actually a 500 gigabyte hard drive. And now I'm going to delete partition 2. I'm doing in reverse order. That's the easiest way to not have a problem, because they were created in a certain order. And then finally, the 100 megabyte partition 1, a very small partition that it's used for backup and recovery. I'm going to delete that. Now I have all of drive 0 unallocated space, 465.8. That is close enough to 500 to say that that's probably what this drive is. I'll find out more about it later when I look at the specifications of it. Now I'm going to do next. I'm going to let Windows use that entire disk. Windows 10 will do the same thing Windows 7 did. It will break it up into different partitions. And now we're copying the files. This may take a while, so I'm going to wind up probably zooming ahead on this. And now it's going to restart, so I'll pull out the USB stick at this point. So now it's restarting. It has now rebooted 3 times, so this may take a little bit longer. It's doing all sorts of checks and making sure it has. Oh, here we go. Finally, something's changing here. Okay, let's continue with the configuration. It is United States. Keyboard is US. I do not want a second keyboard. I will skip that. At this point, I'll go ahead and skip the configuration. It seems to have identified the network. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug the network cable. And I'm going to say I don't have the network. Continue with limited setup. I do not want to go through network. Who's going to use this PC? It'll be David underscore admin. Next. I'm going to assign a password. And I'm going to go ahead and say no to all of these. But I'm going to also connect the network back up again at this point, because now it's created the account. I had to disconnect the network. It was locked into making me create a Microsoft account as long as I had the network connected. So I disconnected it and continued. That did not appear in the capture. Apologize for that, but I was stuck in that loop for a few minutes and I didn't think I wanted to waste your time. So I'm going to say no to all these options. I don't like any of this extra help they're giving us. So now I need to log on using my new account that I created. Give it my password and see what we get. The network is connected at this point, and we are up and running. Well, that completes the installation of Windows 10 itself. I'm now going to do some minor configuration and security changes that I do on all brand new installs of Windows. So the first thing you should do is enable some critical icons, at least having them displayed on your desktop. So if you go down to Start, click on Settings, click on Personalization. I like to grow it a little bit. Click on Themes, then Desktop Icon Settings over to the right here, and then basically check Computer. You can check user files if you want, not critical, and Control Panel. Those are the critical ones. The Recycle Bin was already set. Network you don't really need. You can if you want, but I don't find much use for it normally. And I hit Apply. Now on the desktop we have the critical icons displayed. I also like to then right click on a desktop once again, click on View, go down and check Auto Arrange, and that arranged all the icons in the desktop in the order which will stay. Now let's check to make sure Windows was activated. At least for now, Microsoft is still activating Windows if it has on its database the motherboard in your particular computer as having been activated previously. So if we right click on this PC and we do Properties, we can see down lower where it says Windows activation, and this one, Windows is activated. We get a product ID and everything. So we're good. Okay, now just a couple more things to button things up. I like to make sure I go into the Control Panel. This is one of the new icons we've now made appear on the desktop. There's different ways to view the actual icons that are in the Control Panel. By default, it shows these high-level icons. I always like to change it to just the large icons so it's easier to see. I like to go into Date and Time and make sure that I have the right time and time zone that we have set. So in this case, the time actually looks pretty good to where I'm at right now. However, the time zone is clearly wrong. So I'm going to click on the time zone and I'm going to pick the time zone that I'm in, which is Eastern Time, US and Canada. And once I do that and I click OK, now it goes to the actual time that I can see on my clock on the wall. So we're good with that. I can now say OK. Now there are many other things that I can change in Windows 10. And previous videos that I've done talk about them, along with many others. Many of those things change as different builds of Windows comes out. So just be aware that, this is going to be one of those things that you tweak as you go. And I think at this point I've covered all of the things that are critical to the average user of Windows 10. Well, that completes the install of Windows 10 on this Windows 7 laptop. I hope you really got something out of it, and if you did, please do me a favor and subscribe to my channel. It would be very helpful in helping this channel grow. Just click on the little head here, follow along, and that's all you have to do. Thank you.